number 41, 10, 13, 22.
Make a motion, we accept the AP warrant and the payroll registers.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the payroll warrant and the payroll the AP warrant and the payroll register. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? All in favor, the motion carries. An application for bingo, games of chance for the Tyler Belanger post number 39, American Legion.
These are two applications from the Legion. Both of them cover the entire calendar year for 2023. One is for a cribbage tournament every week, and the other is for bingo every week.
Looking for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the games of chance and the bingo for American Legion post 39. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? All in favor, the motion carries.
Signatures.
Acceptance of the meeting minutes from September 26, 2022.
I'll move to accept.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the meeting minutes from September 26, 2022. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? All in favor, the motion carries. Old business, Mr. Moody?
None, sir.
Mr. Mantor?
None.
Mrs. Webb?
I have nothing right now.
Mr. Agopian?
Nothing.
Okay. Item of communication, Mr. Town Manager?
Okay, I think you saw my email earlier today, but we were hoping to be able to meet with the selectmen over in Anson tomorrow night, as they had somebody from the state, Brian Bronson, come to talk about ATVs on state and town roads and the development of the trails. But Mr. Bronson couldn't make it, so they're just holding their regular select board meeting. And we'll just try to reschedule another time, because I know we've got select board members, road commissioners interested, and I think this would be a meeting of note. So as soon as they're able to get that representative from the state to talk about ATVs, I'll send out another email and let you know when that might be a good meeting to attend. In your packet, you saw the pictures of the old 1990 tanker truck. It's up at MEW right now, and I've put out a notice for sealed bids to all the fire chiefs in Somerset County. Getting a little bit of feedback. That's good through next Friday. We're accepting bids on Friday, the 4th of November, and then depending on what we get for bids, we'll bring them before the board to see what you would like to do with that. Marty from MEW has told me one thing. He says he really doesn't want that fire truck up there when they have to start plowing snow. So he wants it out of the way by winter, so we can't really hang on to it up there for too much longer. Also in your packet, I gave you the update from Maine Revenue Service, showing that our valuation has increased from the state. This is the number that the state uses to set Maine revenue sharing figures, state aid education. Also, it affects our county tax. Our valuation went up by 13% to over 400 million. We haven't been this high since Madison Paper was around. And mainly that is driven by home sales. And so across the county, the average valuation increase was 11%. So we're pretty much in line with what other towns in Somerset County are dealing with. I put in your packets a meeting schedule. We had planned on meeting in East Madison in September, but we postponed that. So I'm trying to gauge the will of the board. Is that something you'd like to try to do on November the 14th? Is have a meeting at the East Madison Fire Station.
Anybody object? All right, we'll be there.
We'll try to schedule that next meeting in East Madison. All right. So I sent out an email last week after talking with Dale Clark at the Sanitary District. Many of you are probably aware of the abandoned building on 26 Perkins Street. And the reason Dale Clark with the Sanitary District has interest in this is that there is a broken sewer pipe underneath that building. And so they've been trying to talk with the property owner about what her intent is with that building. It's been uninhabitable for many years. So in talking with Dale Friday, he asked me to start the process where the selectmen would deem that a condemned building and send a notice of correct. And that takes several months with a public hearing and so forth. So I did draw those papers together for tonight, but I talked with Dale again today and he asked me to hold off. It seems like the property owner and he have had a chance to talk things over and she may be willing to deed the property over to let the sanitary deal with the situation, and they are the best people to deal with that situation. They can probably move a lot faster to get it torn down, and they need access to the sewer pipes that are underneath there. So that's what's going on with that situation as of today. All right, I just want to give you an update on staffing at the town office. As many of you know, Tammy Carrier is scheduled to be done at the end of October. We've had postings out with Maine Municipal. I just added some postings for a bookkeeper to Thomas College and the Mid-Maine Chamber of Commerce. There's very little interest at this point, not seeing a whole lot of people apply for this job. I've talked to 2 people that I had spoken to in the past that may have been interested and qualified. Both of them have taken jobs with other places. One took a job with the town of Winthrop, the other took a job with Somerset County. So the pool of qualified applicants is very small at this point. We've talked with local accounting agencies in Skowhegan and so forth to see if they'd be interested in doing our bookkeeping. Everybody is short-staffed, and so they don't offer those types of services. Some of the larger accounting firms and auditors that do offer those services, one that I spoke with would not be able to onboard a town until July of next year. It's really just, it's a vicious cycle out there in the bookkeeping world right now. So this does put a lot of pressure on the people that we have remaining in the office. Deb Chandler is stepping up and taking on some new roles, and of course Trish Smith as the treasurer will be involved to some degree until we get a person to fill that position. Some of you know that Kim Moody has also given her notice. Her last day is this Wednesday. I had 2 interviews scheduled for this position last week. One of the interviews showed up, the other one called me and canceled. The person I did interview had applied for a position with the town several months ago. She's currently employed somewhere else. Trish and I thought the interview went well. I offered her the position. She got back to me today and said she's going to stay at her current place, even though what I know I offered her was more money than she's getting now. I'm assuming she got a counter offer from her current employer. So this is discouraging, and we're heading into election season very short-handed, short-staffed. So Kristen Plant, who works for us part-time, she lives over in Emden. She's a great asset on the counter, and she is going to try to give us some more time, but she also runs her family business, and so she cannot commit to going 5 days a week, but she can kind of help us on the counter. I've reached out to retired people to see if they're interested in coming to run the counter. Not getting much response from some retired people, but it depends on how desperate we get, I guess. But that's the reality, and the reality is, you know, lunchtimes will have to be closed because we don't have enough people on the counter. When it gets to the election and Tris and election clerks are down here, we may not be open a full day on election day just because of that. So I wanted to be everybody to be aware of that. When replacing Kim's position, Kim is our motor vehicle agent with BMV. We've processed that to be transferred over to Deb Chandler, and that has been approved by the state. So that will take place on Wednesday. Kim is also the welfare director for general assistance. Tammy was her backup, and so the town cannot go without a welfare director. It's required that somebody process general assistance requests when they come in. You, as elected officials, are technically the overseers of the poor, but there needs to be an administrative person at the office to handle those requests when they come in. So I have a little experience with general assistance, not nearly as much as Kim does. Kim is really good at it. But I had Tris write me up a appointment. If you are able and willing to appoint me as the welfare director tonight, at least that will keep us in good standing with the state moving forward.
Nothing against you, but a lot of times you're not there. what happens then?
There's a number, and my cell number is out there as far as emergency. And that's the best way for people to get a hold of me.
You just
I mean,
have to set a point.
and it really, other than the two other staff people in the office, I don't have someone that I can appoint.
Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, you would just have 2 people, right?
Are you talking about this week?
No, I mean, when things go back, when everybody leaves, then there'll just be 2 people in the office on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Counting you will be 3?
Well, right, if we can get Kristen Plant to come and pull some extra shifts,
Oh,
that'll be the extra person, but right, it would just be me, Trish, and Deb, and Kristen's part-time. Right.
yeah.
Just a little information on what your starting out pay.
So,
I know experience is a big thing.
yeah. It's all public information, so it doesn't really matter, but we hired Kristen Plant as a part-timer, and she had experience with Trio, and she had experience working in the municipal office. We hired her part-time for $17.50 an hour. At the time, that was more than what we were paying Kim and Deb. So we gave them raises. Kim is currently at $18.75. The offer I made to the person coming in with no municipal experience, no Trio experience, was $18.50. And that was more than what she was getting paid at her current job, but she chose to stay at her current job.
I'm just wondering if that needs to be, the way the market is, if that needs to be jacked up and take care of the employees that are still there.
Yep, oh yes.
And a lot of places are offering a sign-up bonus.
Yeah.
Gee.
I don't like them,
Right, at this point, I'd just like to have some applicants to talk to. You talk to anybody that's hiring right now, everybody that wants a job has a job. So now, I have to call people at their work and text them. So they'll call me so I can ask them if they want to leave where they're working and come work for me. I've never done that before in my life, but that's the market that we're in right now. I've done that twice, so.
So can we get a motion to appoint Tim as a welfare director?
I'll make the motion that we appoint Tim as welfare director, hopefully temporarily.
We have a second?
Second.
So we open, a second. All right, so we have a motion and a second to make Tim the welfare director for the foreseeable future. Any other questions? Any questions on that? All right, seeing none, all those in favor? All in favor, the motion carries.
That's another thing to sign. And that's all I have for communication.
All right, one thing I have for communication to the board is that we have a ambulance meeting on Wednesday in Anson at 6, and I will not be able to attend. So if we do need 3 people to have a quorum there. If I could get some volunteers, that would be awesome.
I'm there
I know.
anyway, so.
There we go. So we open, you have time, Wednesday?
I was gonna let Moody and Glenn go.
What do you have time?
I'm gonna be down in VA.
At 6?
I don't think I'll be back by 6.
Glenn, can you make it? Okay, all right, Mr. Gopin, you're in with,
VA, that's it, what you come up for?
Pretty good a minute.
No, it's not, they're gonna be closed.
all right, so we'll have a quorum. Thank you, Mr. Gopin and Mr. Manton. This is why too. All right,
You're welcome.
new business, number 1, first quarter budget review.
So this sheet I just handed out to you before the meeting started, just a one-pager on revenues. At the end of September was the end of the first quarter for our fiscal budget. And I just wanted to note a couple of things. Most notably, one of the benefits that the town and all other towns have received was just incredibly strong showings from Maine state revenue sharing. And I put that big circle in there to show last year's actual revenue sharing as opposed to the budget. And revenue sharing was high, excise tax that we received from motor vehicle registrations was higher. And so that basically led to about a $350,000 surplus to what we anticipated coming in for revenues and what we got. We anticipated 2.6 million last year, we got 2.95 million. So when we talk about bringing money forward at the end of the year at town meeting to reduce taxes, that's where that money comes from. It's unanticipated revenues that we've taken in. So that was last year. This year, for the first 3 months, revenue sharing continues to be very strong. We only budgeted to take in $1 million in revenue sharing for the whole year. We've already taken $430,000 in 3 months. So again, that roller coaster won't go up forever, but it's helpful now in times of tight budgeting. Excise tax is right about where it should be at 25% through the first quarter. The money that we've taken in through taxation is pretty much where it should be. We're about 50% of taxes collected, real estate and personal property, which after September 15th is where we should be. So does the board have any questions on revenues? All right. So in your boxes this week, you should have gotten 2 styles of budget review. There was conversation in earlier meetings this year about a line-by-line budget review, and I wanted to provide you these 2 examples so that you could give me some guidance on what you would like to use for a line-by-line budget review. And my understanding is this was in reference to when we actually meet with the Budget Advisory Committee in February and April. So I didn't have an intention of doing a line-by-line review tonight, unless you have the appetite for that. But this is a format you're familiar with. This is the spreadsheet that comes right out of Trio. You see these in your box at least once a month as information. Basically, the benefit of this one is that it shows you where we are year to date for every budget category, every line. It also shows carry forward under the heading budget adjustments. It also has capital and TIF. So that's what's in this one here. This type of spreadsheet here is the one that I've traditionally used for the budget committees and the advisory boards, and when we get together. This has the same information as this one, but it also has data from previous years that are very available. And this is what I use every month. When I get this report from Trio, I plug every number from here into here to make sure it matches. That's the way I do my line-by-line comparison to see what's up, what's down, what needs to be adjusted, what the trends are. This does not have TIF in it. TIF in my spreadsheets is in a separate category, but it does have the previous year's data. Now, you can create a budget format like this that does have previous years in it, but I've been using this. So I'm just looking for some direction from the board. Is this what you were talking about when you were mentioning a line-by-line budget? Okay, all right, so that's the category. Is there a preference whether to use the Trio sheets or my sheets? The numbers are the same.
I like this one myself.
I like yours better.
Okay. Well, good, because I like mine too. So,
All right, is there any questions for the town manager on the budget review?
you want me to hit some of the highlights?
Sure,
Okay, unless you've already read.
I have, but.
Okay, I believe you have. I'm not doubting you. Just in my notes here, I just kind of tallied up where we are in the major spending categories. For general government, we're about 29% spent, and you can see that at the bottom of page 3. We're about 29% spent. And I've included carry forward amounts here, so you can clearly see what categories received carry forwards. In general government, those categories were primarily computer related, because we have some IT work that needs to be done. So with the carry forward, we're about 29% spent of budget. It's a little higher than 25%, but we have items like the auditor and our general liability insurance that take large chunks before the fiscal year is over. Any questions on general government? Public safety, if you look at the bottom of page 5, public safety includes our contracts for ambulance and police. Also includes a line item for fire and for animal control. And we're running about 21%. The fire department did receive about $1,100 or $11,000 worth of carry forward money. So with that carry forward factored in, we're about 21% spent in public safety. The next page, page 6, is your total utilities. This is what we pay the sanitary district, the water district, MEW, and waste management. That's running at about 18%. We haven't got our annual bill from the sanitary district, but I'm sure it'll be coming soon. And I think we're tracking close to what we're budgeting for waste management, but that's always challenging. If you move forward to the bottom of page 8, you will see that we're running at about 14% of total public works as far as highway and that sort of thing. They did receive a significant amount of carry forward, $49,500. We're running about 13%, which is not unusual for July, August, and September. Diesel and gas and overtime aren't factored in much yet. The next page, the bottom of page 9, shows recreation. We're running high in recreation, which is normal. 35% spent because we have the major recreation program in July. That's where we hire a lot of the high school kids, and minimum wage isn't what it used to be, so that's pretty expensive. And we've also spent a significant amount of money already on fields and grounds and maintenance. So that's why recreation's running a little high at 35%. On that same page, page 9, is the cemetery category. We're running around 27%. The cemetery maintenance will go dormant for the winter time, but then we'll pick it up in the spring. Page 10 gives you the library. They had received some carry forward, about $6,500, so with that factored in, they're running about 23% year to date. And the bottom of the page shows all of our community services, the monies that we give to community agencies such as the Lake Association, the food cupboard and so forth. And also general assistance is factored in there as well. And that's running about 11% spent, but we'll spend all of that. And finally, on page 11 is the town-owned property, including what we pay for this building, what we pay to maintain the playgrounds, and the area where the ice rink is. We're running about 17% total. So right at the bottom of the page there, in that incomplete box, you can see that our total budget of $3.1 million non-capital, we've spent about $652,000 in the first quarter, which is right about 21.5%. So we're tracking expense-wise pretty much where we should be. And then the final page, page 12, has the capital. This is where the lion's share of that carry forward was, because we had equipment in highway and that $360,000 fire truck to buy. So that's all accounted for in there. So with the carry forward, we have spent in capital about $489,000, or about 57% of our capital for the budget. I know, talking with the road commissioner, that they were going to try to get some paving done this week, weather permitting. Anything that they don't get done by the time they shut the plants down in November, they will try to pick up in the spring as far as our paving projects. But they're hopeful they can get them all done before November, which is only a week away. Any questions on that?
Thank you very much. All right, number 2, discuss matching grant disbursement. We have 2 of them. One for Northeast Planning of $5,000, and one for K-Tronics for $1,880, and I'll let the town manager explain.
So, back in August, the board made awards through the matching grant program that was approved at town meeting to use ARPA funds. And some applicants that had never applied before received the full $5,000 grant. Other applicants who had applied previously the year before, we divvied up the leftover funds for them. So I received receipts for Northeast Planning that they spent the necessary $10,000. They spent about $10,740. So they've earned their $5,000 award. I just got a note today from K-Tronics, and he was installing some heat pumps at his new building. And so he has spent $8,500. However, his award, since he had received the award the year before, was only $1,880. So what I'm looking for is a motion from the board to pay out these awards, $5,000 to Northeast Planning and $1,880 to K-Tronics out of the ARPA funds.
Make a motion, we came out.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to pay K-Tronics $1,880 and Northeast Planning $5,000 from opera funds for their matching grants. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? All right, with 4-1, Mr. Mantzer opposed. Number 3, discuss renewal of franchise agreement with Beeline Cable.
So I didn't bother to put the entire 20-page agreement in your box, but I can tell you that I did review our franchise agreement update with Beeline Cable. This is the first update since 2004. Traditionally, they run about 15 years, so they're a little late getting us a new franchise agreement. Couple things of note in the franchise agreement. I did put in your packet the service map. Beeline provides coverage to just about 90% of Madison. There's only 4 roads, according to this map, that they don't cover. Reed Road, Tupper Road, a little bit of Father Rall, but we only have 1 resident on Father Rall Road, and River Road, past Patterson Bridge and Conjockety Road. So those are the only areas that are not covered by Beeline Cable. I know they've done some build-outs in the last couple of years. In our franchise agreement, we still collect 5% of a franchise fee, and that money is automatically transferred over to cover the costs of operating Channel 11. And so I have a signature page here, but it is my recommendation to approve this franchise agreement. And by the way, I did talk with the town of Skowhegan, talked with their town manager, because they're renewing theirs around the same time, just to make sure that our 2 agreements are compatible, and they are. Just so that you know, probably the last 3 years, the average number of people with a cable subscription in Madison has stayed right around 500. Now, that's much less than it was 10 years ago, but that's what it is for the last 3 years. In Skowhegan, the average number of people with a cable subscription is about 1,000. And then there's a handful over in Anson, because Anson's split between Beeline and Time Warner now, I think. This has nothing to do with internet. This is only a cable TV franchise agreement, so there's nothing we can do to try to leverage, more internet coverage from Beeline. That being said, with their coverage area, everywhere they have cable, they have internet as well, as an option to people. So,
All right, looking for a motion to approve the service agreement.
yep, Beeline
Franchise
franchise.
agreement.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the service agreement with Beeline.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the franchise agreement with Beeline Cable TV. Beeline Cable, I guess, not Beeline Cable TV, I apologize.
Mr. Rudy.
Is this just for 1 year, Tim?
This is 15 years,
It's
so
15
you're
years?
redoing it for another 15 years.
Okay. All right, seeing no other questions, all those in favor? All in favor, the motion carries. All right, discuss, number 4, discuss broadband build-out grant application with Consolidated Communications.
Putting all these together, Mr. Moody, because
We're gonna sign everything.
in Mr. Elias's honor, you are just signing the back page, so I want to make sure that it was attached to
Oh,
everything there.
yes, yes.
So item number 4, that was a letter that I put on your desk just before the meeting. There is a program out there by the Maine Connectivity Authority for private internet companies, and Consolidated is one of the larger ones that serves our area. And so this is not a grant for us, this is a grant for Consolidated, but they'd like your support, saying that you think it's a good idea for them to add more fiber to the home. You know, in my experience with internet in our area, any activity that the government does, whether the state or the federal level, entices private industry a little bit to go out there and take care of the low-hanging fruit. And so this is another one of those situations where Consolidated could offer fiber to the home. They're not asking you as the town of Madison to put in any money. They're just saying that they'd like you to sign a letter of support saying you think this is a good idea, and this letter goes into their grant application. So that's what's there before you. I think you've had a chance to read over it. If you're interested in making a motion to sign this letter of support, that would be great.
Looking for a motion to approve the letter of support.
I'll make a motion that we approve the letter of support of Consolidated.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to approve a letter of support for Consolidated Communications to Maine Connectivity Authority. Any questions? So go.
Is this TV, or this gonna be internet,
Just internet.
just internet?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So Beeline. won't
Beeline's
use
just
both.
TV, and this one's just internet, even though Beeline does a lot of internet.
Yeah.
So this is Consolidated asking for this grant to build out more of their system in Madison.
All right, seeing no other questions, all those in favor? 4 in favor, opposed? All in favor. Sorry. You want to sign this one or?
So this one here, I'll have you sign.
Yep.
And, put your name on the back.
All right, letter H, select board concerns, Mr. Moody.
None, sir.
Mr. Manton? Mrs. Dwyer?
Yeah, I just have one. I'm curious to get an update from Tim on the code enforcement officer situation that we're in right now. If you could please.
So, Jay Watt is appointed to be the code officer through the end of June. And Leo Mayo is the alternate code officer, also appointed through the end of June. In previous years, I've been appointed, but I'm not appointed to do any code work for this year. So, going forward, if someone needs a permit or if someone needs an inspection done, they can call Jay or Leo, and since they're authorized, they can do that. Jay had scheduled in his resignation letter to be done the end of October, but he and I spoke this past week, and I've extended him in his service where he's at the office every day until the end of November. With our staffing situation right now, it's just important to me to have as many bodies in the office as I can, and I just do not have the time to take any code calls. So I believe that's gonna be what Jay and I worked out for the next month, the month of November. So that's where we're at. After that, if we don't have anyone in place, we'll just continue to use those 2 appointed people until the spring.
And Jay is willing to do that.
He was the other day when I talked to him, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Gopi?
No.
All right, citizens' concerns. Yes, sir.
Should I come up?
Sure, like to, if you gotta identify yourself.
I will. If I can get untangled. I'll even show my face. All right. I'm Mark Cody. I'm a resident of Madison. I'm the current president of the Lake Westernset Association, and I'm also a member of the Madison Planning Board. LWA, Lake Westernset Association, is who I'm representing tonight. I brought on 3 of the trustees and committee members to answer questions that you all might have. The LWA currently has 136 paid memberships or families. Our mission is to protect Lake Westernset. And we appreciate our partnering long-term with the town of Madison in protecting the lake. We're here tonight to follow up on the letter that we sent on October 5th.
To me, yep.
Did everybody get a copy?
No, I gave that to Mr. Vinziano, and that's where I left it, so I don't believe everybody has a copy of
Okay,
that.
I've got enough for everybody,
All right.
if that's okay.
Yep.
And we would like to add our voice to those others who have already spoken about the importance of a full-time CEO. Thanks for your question.
You're welcome.
I think that we all like the lake the way it is. The most important thing that we can do to keep it this way is to protect the water quality of the lake, which takes work. And we are working in many ways to do this. The alternative can be what East Pond and North Ponds in Belgrade have experienced. And I have news stories, which I'd also like to give you each one, and a picture. This is North Pond this year in July and August. Green water on the left, and the other pond is blue water on the right. That's what can happen to Lake Westernset. It isn't happening now, but it can happen. And the CEO has a critical role in protecting the water quality and health of Lake Westernset through enforcement of the shoreline zoning ordinance. The lake is an important economic resource for the town. If the water quality of the lake declines, property values and the tax base will also decline. And I think we're number 3
Yeah,
in valuation in the town.
behind Backyard Farms in Eagle Creek.
Yeah. So that's pretty significant. In 2001, the Colby report warned that the pond was at a tipping point, a threshold at which economically detrimental algae blooms can occur. We're still at that tipping point 20 years later, but I'm afraid there's external factors that are influencing also the water quality and influencing that tipping point. In other words, ice out is much longer every year, the ice in is much shorter every year, and the temperature of the lake is higher. So, our request, please find a way now, would be great, to fund a full-time CEO. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions?
Our plan is to move forward in the budget process to do that. For right now, the board has voted not to do that.
I
And
understand that.
I can't, we're not gonna go back and talk about it again, because there's no point to it right now. And I understand what you're saying, and I do not disagree with you, but I don't feel that we can bring it up again. I believe it's gotta be in the budget process coming up in March, April, and take it to town meeting in June.
We'll be here.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Ray.
Just a little history, I was involved in the original starting of the Lake Association. When I was a kid, I remember swimming and seeing algae blooms then. As road commissioner, we worked on both sides of that lake with DEP permit-led process. And we was able to fix the dam gates and drainage on the other side to help those people out. So we do care about the lake.
Absolutely. And, after you left the road department, not that you wouldn't have done this, but Jeff Wright brought the crew out, and he made 2 diversion ditches on West Arunset Road, which kept the water from running from the top of the hill all the way down the ditch into the lake. And it was just two simple turnouts. Made a big difference right there.
Yeah, and there was quite a bit of confusion there with the landowners.
Oh, sure, yep, yep. Well, we appreciate the town working its way through that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other citizens' concerns? All right, seeing none, we'll look for a motion to go into executive session to discuss the personnel matter pursuant to 1 MRS 4056A. One.
Make a motion.
Like what I said?
Said she did. I didn't hear.
Okay, second?
Oh, I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to go into executive session to discuss a personnel matter pursuant to 1 MRS 4056A. All those in favor? All in favor, the motion carries.